Squats are arguably the worst exercise for your legs.
I know, that sounds like blasphemy in the fitness world.
But if every time you drop down, your knees click, your lower back tightens, and your quads feel nothing, then biologically speaking, you are not building muscle. You are grinding down your joints. Today, I'm going to show you why the king of exercises might be the peasant of your program, and exactly how to fix it so you can actually walk when you're 60. The first thing we need to address is the biggest lie in the gym: the idea that there is one perfect squat form. This single misconception is responsible for more torn meniscus and patellar tendinitis than heavy weight ever was. The reality is simple physics. Squatting is a battle of levers. Your femur or thigh bone is the longest lever in your body. If you have a long femur relative to your torso, and you try to squat upright like a Chinese Olympic weightlifter, you are mechanically fighting a losing battle. To keep your center of mass over your midfoot, your body has to compensate. Usually, this means folding forward like a lawn chair. Or, worse, shoving your knees so far forward that the sheer force on your patella becomes dangerous. This brings us to the knees over toes debate. You have probably heard old-school coaches scream, "Don't let your knees go past your toes." Then you have the modern wave saying, "Knees over toes is essential." So, who is right? Scientifically, they both are, but context is everything. Allowing your knees to travel forward increases the stretch on the quadriceps, which is fantastic for muscle growth. However, it also drastically increases the compressive force on the knee joint. If you have healthy joints, this is fine. But if you are already dealing with pain, forcing this range of motion is like hammering a nail into a glass table. You need to find your biomechanical sweet spot, where the tension hits the muscle belly, not the tendon insertion. Now, let's look at what is happening at the bottom of your squat. This is where the damage usually happens. Have you ever filmed yourself and noticed that right at the deepest point, your lower back rounds slightly? That is called the butt wink. It looks harmless, but under a heavy load, it is a spinal herniation waiting to happen. But more relevant to today's topic, when your pelvis tucks under, you lose tension in the hamstrings and glutes, shifting all the braking force suddenly to the front of the knee. It's a shock absorber failure. The fix isn't always flexibility. Often, it's stance width. If you widen your feet and turn your toes out slightly, you open up the hips, allowing the femur to sit better in the socket, eliminating the butt wink, and saving your knees instantly. This is the part where most people get it wrong. They think they need to add more weight to grow legs, when they really need to improve their internal engineering. If you are finding that these subtle anatomical tweaks are finally making sense of the pain you've been feeling for years, you might want to subscribe, because next week we are breaking down the deadlift with the same level of detail. And I don't want you to miss saving your lower back too. Moving on, we have to talk about ankle mobility. It is the silent killer of squat mechanics. If your ankles are stiff, your knees cannot travel forward smoothly. When your knees stop moving forward but you continue to lower your hips, your body has to dump that force somewhere. Usually, it dumps it into knee valgus, where the knees collapse inward. This puts massive strain on the MCL and the meniscus. Test your ankle mobility against a wall. If you can't touch your knee to the wall with your foot 5 inches away, your squat is compromised before you even unrack the bar. The quick fix? Elevate your heels. Using weightlifting shoes or simply standing on small plates allows you to bypass poor ankle mobility, keeping your torso upright and your knees tracking straight, instantly reducing pain. But what if the squat just isn't for you? This is the hard pill to swallow. For some people, due to hip structure and femur length, the barbell back squat will never be an optimal hypertrophy exercise. And that is okay. Your goal is big legs, not being a power lifter. If the back squat hurts, switch to the hack squat or the leg press. These machines stabilize your back and hips, allowing you to drive 100% of your effort into the quads without the balancing act that threatens your knees. There is no biological rule that says you must barbell squat to get big legs. Dorian Yates, one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time, built his massive legs primarily with leg presses and hack squats because they offered better isolation and safety. Finally, let's talk about tempo. Most knee injuries don't happen on the way up. They happen on the way down. Dropping into the hole and bouncing out uses the stretch reflex, which is great for moving maximum weight but terrible for joint health. That bounce creates a massive spike in tension on the connective tissue. Instead, I want you to try a 3-0-1 tempo. Lower the weight for 3 seconds, pause for 0, and explode up for 1. By controlling the descent, you force the muscles to take the load, not the joints. You will have to lower the weight, yes, but your quads will be screaming, and your knees will be whispering. To summarize, your squats are killing your knees because you are fighting your anatomy. You are ignoring your femur length. You are letting your ankles dictate your depth. And you are ego lifting with a bounce that your tendons can't handle. Listen to your body. If it hurts, change the angle. If it still hurts, change the exercise. Longevity is the ultimate performance enhancer. You can't train if you're in surgery. Treat your training like a science, not a religion. And your legs will have no choice but to grow.